Enterprise systems process millions of raw consumption events, known in SAP as billable items, streaming constantly from external rating platforms into convergent invoicing. Before any of these raw items can generate an actual receivable in contract accounting, they have to pass through a highly structured billing process. The architectural challenge here is processing drastically different billing scenarios simultaneously against the same central database. A standard recurring monthly invoice operates under completely different logic than a final contract termination run. The system has to know exactly how to isolate these disparate scenarios and assign the legally required sequential number ranges to each output. SAP manages this routing through a mandatory configuration element assigned at the subprocess level, the billing type. To see why the billing type is strictly necessary, we start by looking at the final outputs. Consider a standard periodic billing document versus a termination simulation document. The periodic run executes standard business logic, aggregating billable items to generate actual financial postings in the general ledger. The final contract termination document, however, adds specific informational items, like return equipment statuses, that are entirely irrelevant for an actual financial posting. SAP Convergent Invoicing requires a rigid rule to branch the logic and determine which of these processing paths to apply. The billing type acts as that specific trigger, instructing the system on exactly which rules and grouping variants to activate. Defining the exact nature of the billing run from both a business and accounting perspective is the core function of the billing type. This business logic is heavily enforced by strict database mechanics, specifically regarding document number assignment. Number ranges are never generated randomly. Intervals are strictly defined with upper and lower limits directly within SAP customizing. This configuration table shows the first absolute rule of number assignment. Ranges for individual processing must begin with a number between 1 and 9. The second absolute rule applies to mass processing runs, which must begin with a letter from A to Z. External number assignment is prohibited. Once assigned internally, the actual billing document numbers are exclusively numerical. These precise ranges are not applied directly to the billing run itself. Instead, they are allocated to specific document types. This rigid prefix configuration prevents data collision, allowing the system to scale flawlessly from single manual corrections to massive automated batch jobs. The technical hurdle is how the system identifies which of these strict number intervals to pull from during an active billing run. That determination happens at a critical junction in SAP customizing, known as Posting Area 8110, where the billing type maps to the document type. Following standard architectural recommendations, distinctly different document types are assigned depending on whether the output is an actual billing document, a reversal, or a simulation. Within Posting Area 8110, the billing type acts as the trigger mechanism to automatically execute this document determination. Once the exact document type is derived, the database retrieves the exact sequence ID from its associated number range. By dictating the document type determination, the billing type indirectly controls the core identity of the final financial document. We can trace this execution flow chronologically. It begins when the active billing run initiates and selects its assigned subprocess. Next, the system reads the specific billing type mapped to that subprocess. The system then cross-references Posting Area 8110 to derive the correct document type. With the document type identified, the database extracts the next sequential ID from the proper individual or mass processing interval. The final correctly classified and numbered billing document is then generated and stamped. This unbroken chain of configuration guarantees the perfect isolation and tracking of every distinct billing scenario hitting the database. This process flowchart shows us that the impact of the billing type does not end with the creation of the billing document. It acts as the vital bridge feeding data into the next major phase, the invoicing process. While SAP Financials lacks an explicit billing category field, system architects can map individual billing types to specific invoicing categories to achieve granular control. We can look at a telecom company, Telkom One, to see how this works in practice. Telkom One splits its master data, categorizing private customers as 0001 and commercial customers as 0002. By assigning specific billing types to distinct invoicing categories, the company dictates exactly how final invoices are aggregated, formatted, and printed for each group. The billing type serves as the technical thread connecting raw upstream data aggregation directly to the customer-facing presentation layer. Tracing the raw billable event from an external system reveals how heavily it relies on sub-process configuration to become useful data. The billing type operates as an active configuration driver, distinct from a simple metadata label. It functions as the primary routing engine for all of SAP Convergent Invoicing. It operates on 3 pillars: enforcing strict business logic paths, dictating rigid number assignment rules, and controlling downstream invoicing behavior. Mastering this specific configuration is the difference between operating a chaotic data environment and building a highly controlled, auditable financial architecture.